Good morning. You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. Thank you very much for always willing and ready to join this program. We understand you follow this program, to learn a lot of things and, of course, see the happenings both in the Gambia and outside. So thank you very much for always tuning in. My name is Ibrahim Balde, and I am with Julde Njai. Julde, good morning.
Good morning, Ibrahim. Good morning to our viewers. It's always good to be back to give you that morning dose.
Absolutely, absolutely, the morning dose. How have you been? How was your yesterday, Julde?
It was fine. I had a French test.
French?
It was good, yeah.
Beaucoup le parle français. Oui, je parle français dans la rue.
Yeah, but the good thing is, Monsieur Baji, it's really kind. He's understanding and all of that. So at least he gave us a hint as to what to expect before the French test. But yeah.
I don't like French. During my school days, I don't even attempt French.
It's a problem, yeah, because the fact, when I was in primary level, I think I remember, junior school, I think we used to do French. But again, it stops there. At senior level, you don't do French, because then at St. Peter's, you get to choose whether French or technical drawing or other subjects. So it's not like mandatory on us to actually do French. But I think it should, it should continue from the primary level. People should be able to learn, other international language like French, not just English. For instance, Senegal are doing it, so why not the Gambia? That is why you're seeing a lot of Senegalese who are able to speak English, and a lot of Gambians, as close as Senegal, they will not be able to speak French. So I think,
exactly. From childhood, early school days, if you are, if they teach French in school, maybe you'll get to love the subject. But for me, I started doing French when I was in the junior school.
Yes.
You understand? So you don't have any background, any foundation, you don't even understand. So, it would be very difficult.
You lose interest.
Beaucoup français?
No, actually. And I regret.
I don't even know what I said.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. I think we French should have been compulsory, at least until O level, maybe what we call grade 9. That sort of thing. Absolutely, it would have been so helpful. But the way there you praised Mr. Baji, I thought, are you trying to butter him up to give you good?
I'm even thinking Mr. Baji is going to dish out 50 marks for free.
His example, when I was in senior secondary, I hate maths. I don't like it. But I had a teacher then who used to sort of bully us that, if you are in the arts field, it's like you are a failure. He tend to bully us and all of that, because arts students, we know that we don't like mathematics. It's one subject that we don't like. But then, the reason why I even hated maths at the time then, it's because of the teacher, how he really bullied us for the fact making us believe that we are not smart enough to do mathematics, and I had to prove him wrong at some point. I said, you know what, I have to prove this teacher that I am not dumb. It's just that I don't like the subject, but it doesn't mean that I am dumb. So, a lecturer or a teacher can actually contribute a lot as far as your education is concerned. It can make you as an individual, it can break you. And I think that is important. When you are there, when you are a teacher or a lecturer, I think it's important for you to know that you are the guardian of that particular student. You are a parent to the person, because the person looks up to you in a lot of ways, whether you know it or not. So I think it's important.
You are in loco parentis,
yes,
as they say it.
What does that even
loco
mean?
parentis.
As if representing the parent.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Locomotive.
That sort of thing.
Right.
It's quite interesting what you just said there, that it was a teacher saying that art students are not very smart, stuff like that. Since our time, it was like that. But with us, it was never the teacher saying it. We were saying it amongst ourselves. But, well, for me, I was just shamelessly arty. I was into language, literature, history, and I just didn't care what others thought, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not smart enough, well, fine. I knew that my strengths laid in that.
Right.
So I was really following what I wanted to do. And I think that's important.
It is.
Because if you follow peer pressure, sometimes you find yourself in areas that you're not comfortable in.
You're not, yeah, really.
So you really cannot excel, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but when you do something that you enjoy, you realize you become creative in it. You spend so much time doing it. Nobody will ask you to go and study.
Exactly.
When you're doing stuff that you really like.
Right.
Because you'll be doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Stuff like
really.
that. So
yeah, honestly, I mean, if you conduct a survey, like even at the university, asking a lot of people, you know, the subjects or you know the areas that they specialize in at high school, it's not something that they are doing. It's totally different from what they are doing at the university. So it goes to show that a lot of the youngsters follow peer pressure, and then you know peer influence as well. You know, making you believe that you are less of yourself or you are less important. And I think it's important for people to actually get to venture into things that they love doing. For instance, I went to St. Peter's. It's a technical school, and my dad being having a construction company, he thought at the time that I was going to study, you know, construction and architectural workmanship and all of that. But he was surprised when I told him that I'm going to the arts field, and he did not really force me. He was like, okay, if this is something you like to do, why not? So I mean, I think also parents should help their kids to actually know what their passion is and encourage them to venture into that. You know, wherever you're passionate about or whatever you're passionate about, I believe that if you put a little bit of effort into it, you'll be successful. You know, I think that is
absolutely. It's more of just discovering what your talents are, what your strength, what you want to do. You know. There are people that choose other fields because of the discrimination of what they want to do. You understand? Some people don't want to do the science field because, I mean, due to the negativity attributed to the science field, to the arts field rather, that made them go to the science field. But they would have performed better when they, I mean, choose this arts field. Yeah. So let's look at the African code. If there is honey in the tree, the person with who has an axe will get it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Mr. Boy?
How do you call it? Semeñ. Dina ko muna
borom semeñ bi moko muna gas bem hot
mo am lambe.
It's telling you about preparation. It's telling you about knowing what to do. It's telling you, you know, approaching different issues with different solutions. You know.
Those with access. You know what I mean? In whatever area, those with access will really prevail. This is very weird. Opportunity doesn't always go necessarily to the most deserving.
Not really.
You see? To those who are prepared, those with the axe. You know what I mean? So that's really what it is. Preparedness, as you said there, and that's it. Giving yourself the tools or the power to prevail. Otherwise, others will prevail upon you.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that. Otherwise, others will prevail upon you. Look at us. We say, Africa, we've got so many resources, unbelievable. That's what they're using to fuel this tech revolution. Look at the billionaires they've created outside. We don't have an axe in the sense that there's no expertise, there's no technology. We don't do anything about it. We just export everything and they make all the cash, all the money. They've got the axe. We've got the honey. They've got the axe. In that sense. That's really what our problem is.
That is a good example there. I mean, you can have all the opportunities in the world, but if you're not prepared, you know, to take advantage of the situation, I think it will not make you any good. So I think it's important for people to be prepared. Whilst you're waiting for the opportunity, it's good in, you know, to put in the effort. You know, to be ready, to be committed. You have ne dal diw de amul li de way dega try na jox nako best and the person has always been there because worsek mom yalla ko de may way jom ak, you know, to be ready to do stuff yo ya ko de may sa bopa. So I think it's important.
I was watching a film, a movie So one of the characters said to the other, do you know what luck is? L-U-C-K. Do you know what luck is? Luck is preparation plus opportunity.
Right.
And you know, the Americans will tell you, you make your own luck.
Right.
In other words, there is a human dimension. There's a dimension, agency, your individual agency taking certain action.
Right.
That contributes to your luck. Right. I'm not sure whether when you just sit down and put in any effort, whether you'll ever be lucky, if you know what I mean. So
unless
that's
if
what it
you have
is.
a miracle.
Give yourself the axe. Try to sort of get an axe.
Yeah.
Or at least team up with people with axes.
Exactly. Yeah, so I mean, it reminds me of when the journalist asked the president and said to him, are you an accidental president? He said, I am not an accidental president. You know, so it's more of, okay, this guy, I mean, he wasn't even part of any significant, you know, political something. You understand? At some point, he manifested himself at the dying minutes of this situation, and now he emerged as president.
But he can also tell you, how can it possibly be really accidental? They had all sorts of processes, which, you know, through them I was selected. We went through the country in the hustings, there was the campaigning and all of that. So a good number of things, a lot of things happened before I was voted in. So it wasn't quite as accidental as you might think.
Yeah, so, all right, we move on.
Right.
We have the standard. Okay. Barrow ought to use OIC rule to mediate in Sahel conflict. I mean, his OIC powers as the chair, you know, to mediate, you know, the Sahel conflict. But I think it will be a very difficult one. Considering how the Sahel nations are moving now, with that notion, okay, we don't want to be colonized twice. We don't want to, you know, leave people to decide our affairs. I mean, we will be running our own thing. So it's like the Sahel nations are now opening their eyes. They're seeing how disadvantaged they were.
Well, I'm not sure whether they're opening their eyes or not. They've come with an agenda. Let's just take them on their own terms. Right. The three of them is Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. You know, that's it. They've come with their agenda, and their main beef is with the French, you know, the former, the colonizer, and all sorts of things. Right. And I'm thinking that sort of the ECOWAS is really representing Western interests and that sort of thing. They think that ECOWAS is compromised. Right. Fine. But we realize that we share the same territory. So they're going to have to work with their neighbors perhaps on security. It's a bit like what's going on right now with Britain and Brexit with the EU. Yes. They just signed so many deals, others are calling it a betrayal. So with these people, it's going to be the same. Because some of the problems we have, they are transnational. So you not necessarily must solve these problems cooperatively. So we will have to liaise, you know, work with the Sahel states, ECOWAS with the Sahel states in so many different areas. Maybe now they're working towards that, you know, the overtures from Ghana, the President Mahama doing whatever he could to bring them back. So there's an intense sort of diplomatic effort behind the scenes to get them back. But it appears as if they wouldn't come back. They wouldn't. Still, for practical reasons, you know, for pragmatic reasons, they'd be working together, collaborating in so many different areas because of their common interests.
I mean, I think for some reason, they think that maybe ECOWAS is no good to them or it's not of any use to them. That is why they decided to just form their own, you know, alliance. And I think it's important. This is a moment for ECOWAS also to reflect on its actions and agenda and also come up with solution. Because if not, you know, I'm afraid that other countries will also join the alliance of Sahel state. That is what we are saying. I think already, is it Congo or Togo? Togo. They already proposed that they want to join the alliance of Sahel states. So, I mean, you know, ECOWAS ought to know better and they ought to do better. For me, I always advocated the fact that ECOWAS should be run by, you know, technocrats, not heads of state.
Heads of states.
Exactly, because there is an interest.
You
There
see,
is a conflict of interest.
Exactly.
For instance, President Barrow and President Joe Maifai, I mean, there is interest because we are neighbors and there are certain things at the ECOWAS level, if something is happening, of course they are going to support one another. So for me, I think that, you know, they should change the whole mandate of the ECOWAS because it has been compromised.
The reason why I said it will be a bit complicated,
right,
with the notion that the Sahel states have, okay, ECOWAS, you know, they bow, you know, more to the West, whatever is said, this is what they follow. Considering the radical nature of things now in the Sahel state, it will be very difficult to come into terms to certain conditions.
The radical, that's a promise. We haven't seen much yet. I'm not sure whether one can make that kind of judgment. And initially, really, the reason why they left, the most pressing reason was that after the coups, they were suspended. There were certain things happening. So really, for their own survival, really, that was one of the reasons, at least they left, and it happened to be 3 or so. They said, all right, now let's come together. Okay, it was a pragmatic reason, really, for coming in. Yes, you see, the problem is the individual nation states, some of them are not that stable.
Right.
That is really what the problem is. And then ECOWAS, suddenly it wants to advocate good governance and all the rest of it, to the extent that when there is a coup, they will condemn it. But yet, the other element which was lacking was when you had these presidents wanting perhaps to extend you know, their term limits, you know, really abusing the constitution, yet ECOWAS wouldn't say anything. For instance, Alpha Conde, people will say Alpha Conde when he was trying to do things, they wouldn't say anything. But when there is a coup, they will begin to condemn. So when you have these individual nation states, they're trying to find their feet, trying to create some kind of stability, a long-term stability. Well, without that, then when you have quite a few, and then you want to form a body, you know, a transnational body, I think that body would be as wobbly as these individual states. Just as they say that a chain is as strong as the weakest link.
Right.
You know, to me, and the body is like a chain, isn't it?
Barrow is going to use his OIC
see what he can do.
Powers to mediate I mean, the Sahel states. I mean, let's take a look at OIC itself. How effective is that body, OIC? I mean, I mean, I've not been hearing a lot about the OIC body itself, maybe doing 1 or 2 things, or, you know, mediating certain things. I mean, I've not been hearing that. The last time I heard about OIC is when we had the OIC conference here in the Gambia.
Yes, it's been like that for a while. Its size in terms of populations within the OIC, far outweighs its political voice, its political authority, not least because you have so many different members. Politically, they're not singing from the same hymn sheet. There's no common platform. So, on the one hand, it seems like really a religious body, as it were, but we all know that they will always have political dimensions, wouldn't they? But here it's never been a strong political voice, as it were. So that's why you've not been hearing about it, because one would have thought that, especially what's going on in Gaza right now, in Palestine, one would have thought that you would hear more of the OIC, but not quite. They're just not like that, because all of them wouldn't agree on what to say. That is really what the problem is.
So let's move on. I've also seen a very interesting story about the Sukuta incident shooting. That's the police shooting, I think, 2 years back. I mean, there are witnesses that provide an alibi of the accused person where he was when the shooting incident was happening. So some of them said they were with the witness, you know, that very day.
They said it in court.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we will see what will happen on the cross-examination.
Yeah, right.
So we do not know whether
exactly what,
you know,
and the evidence that were provided.
what's the evidence? That's
exactly.
it. So that's a difficult one.
It is.
I cannot evaluate that, cannot judge that, really.
So 39 selected from over 10,000 applicants for Spain farm job. 39 people.
Have been selected.
But that was, we thought that.
Right.
You're not going to have many thousands going. It doesn't work like that. So, yes, this is what it is. It's going to be extremely competitive because a lot of people would want to take this opportunity. Unfortunately, the space is not that many.
It's not. And even the pay scale, I think for the Saudi, it's $200, you know, which is quite small. I can't imagine going all the way to Saudi Arabia. No, a month.
A month, 200 for a month?
All the way to Saudi Arabia just to be paid $200.
Yeah,
I mean, I think they
want to
should
do that.
Do that just because it's they want to go. You know,
yes.
Others are desperate.
You can make
$200
$200 in the Gambia, or more than that a month.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But again, people have different reasons to actually travel. Others want to go because they want to make their lives better. Others want to go because they just want to explore. They just want to go and see what is happening, you know, in the rest of the world. And I think that is important. But for me, it's the contract, especially in the, you know, Saudi Arabia. You know, we know that there are allegations of domestic violence with workers and all of that. So I think the government should really look into this, not just send these people there, but ensuring that they are protected, their rights are not violated. And even in Spain, you know, those that are working there, their contracts should really be looked into and have people there, or I'm sure we have diplomats in Spain who are going there, but they should monitor some of these workers that are going there. You can't just take, you know, our Gambian brothers and sisters from here, take them to Spain, all in the name of, okay, they are going to work, but without having to actually check the conditions at which they are living there. I think that is important.
You know what the problem is going to be? Of course, the government will tell you they've been involved in the contract. Everything would be written perfectly well. You know, all the right way of dealing with your employees. They will have all the clauses perfectly written. But de facto, the reality, how is the reality like?
Right.
And a small country like the Gambia, you don't have much clout. What kind of monitoring? You know what I mean? Because in many ways, you're seeing it as this country doing you a favor.
That's the whole point.
You're seeing it as this country doing you a favor. So how critical really can you be with that government? How many times have we seen that? You don't.
Right.
So what is written, what they've agreed is one thing, we all know that, but the reality of being in that situation is quite another.
It is.
And that's really where the issue is. But with people's experiences, they will come back and say whatever, then we will know.
Well, you know, Mr. Mboj, I just mentioned, I said, okay, you can make more than $200 in the Gambia a month.
Right.
You understand? But
depending on what you do.
What is making our youngsters want to leave and go to another land and work to make that $200 a month in that land? You know, so
this is what Julia was saying. There could be any number of reasons why people want to leave.
Right.
Just as you said, curiosity, exploration, or maybe for some of these people, maybe they cannot make $200 here. So don't just assume that one can easily make it here. No, it just depends on what you're doing. So for a good number of people, they just want to leave. And there's something else. Is it atmosphere? Is it the mental atmosphere? People just want to leave.
Right.
You know what I mean? For some reason, we just focus on oh, things are hard here, nothing is working. It's just this narrative. We've just been taken over by this narrative without really thinking about it, if you know what I mean. Yeah, we've just been taken over. Most people you talk to, they just want to leave.
Probably it's the bigger opportunities that they want to go and explore. Because
perceptions, really.
Yeah, for me.
Yes. So this is, well, somebody wrote about this a long time ago, called it the crisis of habitation. We've been in this crisis of habitation. This person wrote about it in 1979. Can you imagine? We're just beginning to see this sort of explosive kind of with the back way end of it. But we've had this crisis of habitation for a very, very long time. People just want to leave.
Right.
The brain drain, we've been talking about that. It used to be the people with brains leaving. Now everybody
leaves.
Everybody wants to
I
leave.
think we ought to look at ourselves internally as a people, but also the government has a role to play as far as this is concerned. I know you can't stop migration, you know, you can't stop it, even if you provide all the jobs and all of that, but you can't really stop it. But again, providing employment and ensuring that there is a minimum wage for people, I think that is important. For instance, in the civil service, those working there being paid $5,000 or less than that, what can that do in this country?
Nothing.
It can't do anything. In this country, even 10,000 won't do you anything. That's just the reality. We've seen rent, you know, prices of goods skyrocketing, maybe on a weekly basis or monthly basis. I mean, we ought to really look at the situation on the ground. There is a need for minimum wage as far as people are concerned. But again, they will tell you that there is no resources, there is no resources. But every day, day in, day out, you hear allegations of corruption. Millions and billions of dollars is being embezzled in this country. So it's a problem. Are we ready really? Are we serious? Are we ready as a country? We keep talking about this.
Well, I think Julde got a point here. When you look at the earnings of certain individuals, I mean, you know, and the expenditure. Sometimes your expenditure is more than what you earned. So obviously you start dreaming big. You start dreaming, okay, why not I change my situation? So, I mean, it drives many people, you know, to think about other things, Mr. Mboj.
I'm sure that if you make a survey here, you will realize that a huge number of Gambians are underemployed. You know, that is the problem here, underemployment. People are employed, but again, they are not employed. You're just, it's just slavery, honestly. Every day you're waking up, going to work, but at the end of the day, you're not really, it's not benefiting you in any way. You can't even pay all your bills.
Or maybe you go to work for 3 hours, 4 hours, you have so many other hours that you're not doing anything on the employment thing. Oh, this is a very difficult one.
It is.
Really. When I look at the problem, it's not just Gambia, it stretches across the continent. I think that context matters. Perhaps it tells you something about this post-colonial world. It's kind of similar. Earlier on, you talked about the people, and then you said the government will help. I'm like, you see, this is where the problem is.
No.
We are the government.
Exactly, but
it's the societal aspect. My norm, it's the same people. Why is it that with the people, I will accept them, you know, with them having all these sort of unsavory attitudes that are really dysfunctional to run in public life. And yet, once I go into government, you expect me to be moral, to be following rules and all of that. Why that expectation? You're dreaming. It's a fantasy. You know, how you live as individuals, we are told, it reflects in how you live as a collective.
Right.
Most of us, I will blame the person in government for corruption and all of that, but just appoint me tomorrow. Suddenly, I will find my appetite for corruption. Just put me in the situation. It's an extraordinary thing. But again, societal norms, what they expect from me, and our social networks, you know what I mean? We do each other favors, you know, socially. These are good things. You give each other gifts, and these are good things. But we don't separate. We don't separate that when I go into public office,
we can't strike a balance between
I have to separate
our
that
professional life and our
the
personal life. Yeah.
My friend will come, your daughter or son, you want me to employ? I will. So that politics of patronage, the patronage,
syndrome.
absolutely.
Right.
So these sort of notions that perhaps socially they are very good.
Yeah.
But maybe if you want to run a proper public institution in a modern sense, maybe these things are not really very good, you know, considerations in sort of in
That's
in
true.
the
So,
public life.
Mr. Mboy, Sanit Kyoharna Ahmad Ba, he called for, you know, the law to protect women amid rising broken marriages.
Protection, that's
But
key.
does he want to outlaw divorce? I don't know.
Protection for women, that is important.
Yeah, that is significant.
Around, absolutely, it's important. For instance, in
So
the
what is he
West,
proposing? Let's get the details.
Maybe
the
the law should, okay, fine. I mean, when the law protects women, I mean, it's to make sure their rights are served, and at the same time they are, I mean, given their due, you know.
For instance, in the West, you can't just get up and divorce your wife just like that. I mean, you know, maybe you will have to share.
It's a process.
Yes.
First, you need to get the decree nihil, they call it. Then before you get the decree absolute.
Yeah.
I think it takes a whole year or stuff like that. And that's very smart in the sense that it will give you time to cool off.
At least to think.
You might even decide to get back together again. So, yeah, it isn't like that.
Well, I mean, that's a good one. I mean, women's rights should be protected.
By all means.
You know.
Yeah.
Sometimes in these situations, women seems to be the weak one. I mean, at some point, and the disadvantaged one when it comes to divorce. I mean, most of the time when a woman is divorced, many people tend to point fingers at her.
At the woman, that she is bad.
Society, we are very traditional. So we hold these conventional rules on gender. We stereotype, perhaps everybody stereotypes, but we stereotype in more traditional, conventional roles. Women, we have certain expectations of women. Men, we have certain expectations of men.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing, and they seem to be written in stone. Well, against that, there's a pushback. I call it the moderns. It's really tradition and modernity, really. So there are other voices saying that no. Boundaries, well, you test boundaries. Right. Boundaries keep shifting. The traditional rules, well, now we know that women can do much more.
Nice.
And men, you're not really as powerful, as good as you think you are. Calm down. So we've been balancing out.
Nice.
Yeah. One is asserting more. The other one is being made to sort of take a back seat a bit, to chill
in the West, finally, in the West, there are, you know, certain conditions laid. Maybe they give you time for you to think about. I mean, that's even what Islam said. I mean, you don't just divorce your wife like that. I mean, you need a period where you people can sit and reflect. Probably you might want to come back together.
Exactly.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. Mamadou Mbodj, for reviewing the, papers with us. And, you know, we hope to do this tomorrow again. We won't leave you.
Yes.
Yes.
My pleasure.
All right. Yes. So at this point, we'll take a short break. After the break, then the program will continue. We'll be right back.
QMoney is back again with its easy-to-use, secure and convenient mobile app that allows you to carry out all your transactions. No matter where you are or what time it is, you can always access your funds. With the new QMoney app, you can cash in and out, buy credit, buy QPower, shop, make payments, and so much more. You can also send QMoney, pay bills, receive international remittances, and transfer cash to others. Just download the app from your Play Store or App Store and get started. For more information, call customer care on 133. QMoney, Sinu Kalpe. We innovate, others follow.
Gas, the energy that brings us together.
by Africa, Oris Energies.
QCell mooy suñu boss. QCell mooy suñu boss. QCell mooy suñu boss. Soro. Go, ebe da full network suuta tili QCell. Ni lafta diamla wati jamala mune diata QCell. Most reliable network jumala keta wati QCell. Wo quality man nyon sota jam pona manke QCell. Hani be wulo ni farole kono walante be bako na jala fayola network ko se taria QCell suñu boss. Ño fi njeka indi 3G ñu delu taxi 4G plus and now we bring you 5G. 5G. First and only 5G provider. Itella follow adi doron nesa keno. Gambia bela nyon tawa fele QCell. Ko fasun tawa buka busi QCell. Itella multi milka kukutol nati Gambia. QCell made lori la kilianol yele imanyina amanda wala itella ka quality dila dadi ma itelle silo wala wodol mume be keno ma. QCell sunyu boss. QCell sunyu boss. QCell sunyu boss. QCell sunyu boss. Connect solo be bambandi QCell sunyu boss. QCell most innovative QCell sunyu boss.
Kiwmoni arti webi nafitora gol no yawi te non kadi no moƴƴi Kiwmoni a wawa wadde piiji ɗin fow kala ko wonɗa wattu kala a wawa hendade mbuuɗi maɗin e o Kiwmoni app kesson a wawa nattinde mbuuɗi ma ɗum yaltina soda crédit soda kiw paba soda ko falaɗa te non kadi wawa hen yoɓude himɓe e ko heewi ina wawi kadi nuldude Kiwmoni yoɓa bilji maɗin te non kadi hendoɗa mbuuɗi ko yaasi nulda himɓe kadi mbuuɗi fi nafitoragol ɗum no weeɓi yahu ka play store ma ɗum ka app store fi wawa fuɗɗade fi heɓugol hen ko laaɓi noddu Kiwmoni customer care e 133 Kiwmoni suñu kalpe minen udditi lawol ngol si woɓɓe jokki Kiwmoni e murundananne koteke anilañi mobile app soneyari o a lannayata ndum.
Thank you very much. You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. Now let's move to the third segment of this program. I mean, after that interaction with Mr. Momodou Mbodj, you know, on the newspaper review. Now we have Ms. Ndeyro Sarr, the UNFPA country rep, the Gambia, and we'll be talking about the alarming rate of fistula in the Gambia. It's good to have you here, Ms. Sarr.
It's my pleasure.
It's been a while, you know. If I can remember, it's more than a year since we had this, conversation on QTV. Yeah, so it's good to have you here once again.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Please, I would like you to tell us, what fistula is.
Right.
I mean, it's important for us to know what is it before we delve into it.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to be here. Obstetric fistula, because there are different fistula. I'm not a doctor, but the one that we are talking about today is the obstetric one. And it's very easy to fix, and it's something that is very preventable. And it's nothing less than what happens when a woman is about to give birth and spend a lot of time in labor. And it's an obstetric labor. So in the end, most likely the baby will die, will be a stillborn. And then if she leaves, she will end up having injuries in her birth canal that will make her pee wherever she sits, or in some very difficult cases, even pass feces. She will not be able to retain all of that. And she becomes stigmatized in her society. The likelihood of divorce is very high among those. And so we need to put an end to it.
So what are the primary causes of...
we can talk about the health factors. So most likely the person is very, very young. And so the pelvic bones are not fully formed. So the baby will take a lot of time to descend. It can also be based on root causes such as poverty, not knowing what exactly needs to happen, the woman not having gone through antenatal care, where the midwife or the doctor will identify this as a difficult pregnancy and therefore will propose to the patient a simple C-section. It can also be ignorance, and it can also be related to the fact that in some remote areas, women will not have access to a skilled birth attendant.
So if this is treatable and preventable, why is there a lot of cases, a staggering 500,000 women live with it globally?
First of all, it doesn't happen in developed countries. Actually, yesterday there was a panel discussion in Geneva that I followed online, and Professor Mukwege, which we all know from, whom we all know from DRC, was saying that the Waldorf Astoria in New York used to be a fistula center, and that was 100 and something years ago. So in developed countries, because of the quality of care, the access to prenatal and postnatal care, it's extremely rare to see it. But in sub-Saharan Africa, with all the issues we have in terms of availability of health centers, of skilled birth attendants, of the knowledge of women and their families about what to do when they are pregnant or about to, that's where it is a problem.
So in that case, what do you think really needs to be done to ensure that this becomes a thing of the past? Because, I mean, it's not as a deadly disease that can really be prevented and treated. I think there is a need for concerted effort from individuals to actually get things done. What do you think actually needs to be done? Where are the gaps?
Well, first of all, is the awareness raising, which is what we are doing today. So the media has a role to play. Communities need to be aware of what is happening and how do we prevent. Women, when pregnant, should be going to their prenatal visits. And when you are about to give birth, you should be able to go to a health facility where you don't even need an obstetric gynecologist. All you need is a good midwife that has been trained enough to be able to take care of your pregnancy. And by any chance, if we see that you are in prolonged labor and most likely are not going to be able to deliver the baby vaginally, that we do a simple C-section that will release the baby, and both of the baby and the mother will survive.
So what are some of the strategies employed by your organization, I mean, to help prevent or manage fistula?
So UNFPA works with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare. First of all, on the prevention side, to make sure that communities and women in general know what it is. We work on child marriage to make sure that girls are left in school until a certain age so that they can know about their body and what it entails to have an early pregnancy. It's also about comprehensive health education to make sure that men and women and young girls and young boys know exactly what to do when they are about to get into a relationship. It also means that health facilities need to be well equipped, that we need to have enough midwives, especially in zone where they tend not to stay. Quality of care, meaning that the training that needs to happen for the health workers is also very critical, that we have a critical mass of enough midwives to take care of pregnant women, but also supporting women and those who would like to have access to family planning, because what happened is that most of the time the women will give birth, not recuperate, and give birth again and again. And the more you do that, of course, your body is tired, and you are most likely going to have complications from subsequent pregnancies. So all of that needs to be taken care of, and we work closely with the Ministry of Health.
Well, I don't know, Julia, if this we can do this in the local language. Are you comfortable with Wolof?
I don't think she is comfortable with Wolof.
I cannot do that.
Most of our local viewers would have been very interested in this topic. Especially.
But we can certainly find someone from. You have Dr. Abubakarja.
Yes.
You have Dr. Keita from the Edward Francis Teaching Hospital.
Nice.
You have several midwives you could invite both in Wolof and in Mandinka to give the details. And I agree with you, it's very, very important because most of the time, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is happening in zones where women have limited information about what to do. And they need to know that it's something that can happen to anyone who's giving birth, but it's something that we can repair. And also give advice, because what happened is that the role because we are in a very patriarchal and bureaucratical society, it's the husbands, it's the male members of the family who decide when you will be going to the hospital or the health center. That's one. Then they may want you to go, but they may not have the means to go. And I know that, for example, the government had put in place what they call community ambulances in some areas where at least transporting the patient from where you live closer to a health facility is happening. But people are still giving birth at home, so it's something that we need to also prevent, because there is a strong belief in some societies, in some communities, that someone from my community should be the one helping me give birth at home. But giving birth at home has a lot of risks, and when the baby is sitting differently in the body and is not able to come out, that woman doesn't have what it takes. So it's good to go to a health facility to deliver.
I know you conducted a new study,
a prevalence study,
prevalence study in the Gambia. Talk to us about that, and who were the targeted audience, and where have you really get this information from? Were you targeting people from rural Gambia, or it was a national study?
Yes, so it was done by a consultant that we hired, and obviously they went into the entire regions. All the regions were surveyed.
Okay.
I mean, the good news is that the last survey was done, I believe, around 2003, and then we did one this 2024-2025, and what we thought was that the prevalence was around 1%, and the prevalence study is showing that we are at 0.6%. Okay. Because the good news is that in the Gambia, 85%, if not 90% of births are happening with the help of a skilled birth attendant. So it's not that bad. But that 0.6% represent a lot if you look at it. And as I mentioned before, most of the time the child will not survive. And if the mother survives, she will have fistula. And so we need to do something about it. So the Gambia has, with the Ministry of Gender and Health, has the ambition of ending obstetric fistula by 2030. And we are working hand in hand. UNFPA at the global level is the lead of a coalition. We have signed several MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, with international obstetric and gynecologists and urologists who are supporting those who are learning at Edward Francis and somewhere else to really learn the techniques, because you will have what we call simple fistula, which most of the time it's very easy to fix, but then you will have complicated cases. For example, you will have repaired a woman and she will go back, and instead of waiting a year and a half to 2 years before having another baby, she will be forced to have another one. And so she will tear again, and you will have to redo the repair, and this time around you have scar tissues, and also it becomes more difficult. So even those who are doing these surgeries, we are also teaching them not to touch from the other countries around, whether they are from Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, and others, and you know, as a consortium, they can easily do the work together. So it's not that difficult.
But do you think Gambia at the moment they will be able to reach the target of eliminating fistula in the Gambia by 2030?
They could. A few things should happen, and obviously we will continue to to work closely with the Ministry of Health and Gender, but also all other development partners, because it's about, you know, the health and well-being of women and the babies, so newborn and women. And it's very easy. If we already are at a target of almost 90% of skilled birth attendant, what we need to focus on is to close that gap, the rest of it, so everyone gives birth in a health facility. That's one. Second, we have enough midwife and we retain them in the zone where they need to be. And we also give them the skills, because you know, there are different training that a midwife will have. But if you want them, for example, to be able to do a simple C-section, because at the end of the day, they are the only one there. So now you need to train them, and we are looking into that, giving training to certain midwives in regions so that they pick up the task and do it properly. And of course, there will always be cases where it's not what we call a basic intervention. You will need a more complicated one, and then that one should be referred to the major health centers, so that doctors like Dr. Jha will be able to do it, and that also is something that we think about.
So how can we measure UNFPA's success when it comes to fistula in the Gambia?
Well, this is a good question, because I will not be able to answer it fully for one good reason. The availability of data is very important in all health facilities, and we need to make a bigger dent into that. It's happening. We are collecting, but we are not collecting enough. And with the Ministry of Health, we are really looking into digitalization, making sure that each and every facility is able to tell you how many women gave birth. They are doing it on paper, but if you want to aggregate the data, and for example, during the prevalence study, it took us a very long time to get all the information, because it was not digitalized, it was not available everywhere. So we still have work to do in terms of collecting data, and data is what gets measured, gets done. So absolutely, it's a very good question. Yeah.
So for this year, finally, what are some of the initiatives or activities that UNFPA is going to embark on?
So we have a collaboration with the community radios. So they will be doing a series of events online to call on experts to talk to people. We will also use social media as always, and we will continue at community level, because we have what we call implementing partners who work with us and are present in communities. So they will also do awareness raising at that level. And in a few months' time, we have another, the doctor I mentioned, Dr. Amberine from the International Medical Response. She will come back to train more surgeons, and we will continue to work towards ensuring that some midwives have the skills they need to be able to support this C-section that I mentioned.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ndero Sarr, for talking to us on QTV this morning. Keep it up and continue the good job.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we will try to get someone who can do this in the local language for us.
Oh yes, Dr.
So that we can engage them. Because we want someone sitting in Basse URR, a lady, I mean, to understand what we are saying.
Yes, and you can also talk to the doctor in Bansang. So you have a number of, because we have a national task force. And among them are the doctors, but also the community workers, everyone who's involved. So you can certainly have a panel, and I'll be happy to join them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so viewers, this is all we have for this segment. But we'll be right back after the break for the last segment of this program. We'll be right back.
Bekeno ibeda woda wati ise munafano ila kodola anin kiumani la nyim mobile app kuto ise kodo dundino ye kodo fintinde ise credit ko sanno ye kiu power sang ye fengol sang ndum fanan ise mol jono anin ku jamalu ise kiumani kino ye la bilol jo ndum fanan bantala banko se kodo kiyeno ise kodo fanan kino do kotanye kurke munafanyina a download sign Play Store anin App Store ni laftaka kusere ngosotoje kiumani customer care commandi 133 kiumani sunyu kalpe ntolle nga silo walang dole mol noma.
Salam alaikum. Ça va? Ça va bien.
Taking a break isn't about stopping. It's about recharging for the next stage. Welcome to our oasis.
Powered by Africa. Oris Energies.
Q-Money Delsina ak seen mobile app bu bees bii óor na gaaw na te it mun nga koo jëfandikoo pour def ci loo bëgga foo mun di ne waxtu bu ne mun ngaa jot sa xaalis ak Q-Money mobile app bu bees bii mun ngaa dugal xaalis génnee xaalis jënd si crédit jënd si Q-Power jënd loo bëgga ak yu bëri mun nga ci yónnee Q-Money fay sa bill si jot xaalis bitim réew yónnee xaalis ci noo ko bëggee looy def yomba na downloadal app bi léegi ca Play Store bu dul loolu App Store pour nga door pour am si lu leer koolal Q-Money customer care si 133 Q-Money suñu kalpe ñoo xaali yoon wi ñeneen toppa
Oryx Service. Top teamwork for top performance.
Powered by Africa. Oris Energies.
We're back. You're watching QTV this morning. I am Ibrahim Abalde. Now let's move to another segment, or the last segment of this program. And we have Stand Gambia, an organization, helping to restore mobility, and of course, creating legs for people who never hoped they will walk again. Quite very interesting. These things can be done here, and they are doing it. They've done it for many people.
Right.
So it's good to have you here, Aliou Toure. Aliou, how are you?
I'm fine, Mr. Balde.
Yes, I think this is the second time of having you on this program. You were here for Legs for Africa.
Yes.
And here now we are having Stand Gambia. Please, can you tell us why Stand Gambia from Leg for Africa? But first of all, how are you doing, young lady?
I'm good, and you?
Very good. What's your name?
My name is Nyuma Sise.
Nyuma Sise. Nice. Okay. So let's start with you. Please tell us, Stand Gambia, Legs for Africa.
Thank you, Mr. Balde. The organization that way back around 2014, 2015. Then it is a British, UK-based charity, and it was called Legs for Africa. Yeah, because their main purpose is to help amputees in Africa, not only in the Gambia, but Africa, to have easy access to get prosthetic leg and be able to walk. So for the past 10 years, they were partnering with the Department of Social Welfare, the National Rehabilitation Center, you see, where whom they supply prosthetic components, the materials that are used to assemble legs for people who are amputated, you see. So, but yeah, the work was well progressed.
Okay.
Definitely it helps Gambian people a lot. Because some years back, when an individual is amputated, unless and until you are taken to Europe or Senegal, you find it difficult to get a leg here. Yeah. But since their intervention, now people are even coming from Senegal to get a leg here because it's more easier and cheaper. Here, you can get below knee. I myself am an example.
I never knew.
Yeah, I'm an example. This leg,
okay,
is a prosthetic leg, you see, below knee. So this below knee, here you can get it less than $5,000. You are not buying it, but just to buy the materials they are going to use to make your frame. See, but if you go to Senegal, you'll spend more than 24,000 to get this leg. So, Yeah. Sometimes last year, by May, they finally decided to register in this country as an organization of themselves. After the registration, few months, the trustees, the donors, and the executive members in UK sit and discuss and said, now it's better we change the name now. Instead of Lex to Africa, let's give it another name. That is Stand We Work Together. That's how the new name came.
Okay.
Yeah, so now it's Stand We Work Together.
Okay.
And they are not only working in the Gambia, but in these sub-Saharan countries in Africa, Ghana, Tanzania, Uganda, they are working with all these countries. But for the first time in Africa, now they opened an office in the Gambia here.
Making a prosthetic legs for people.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Nyima, tell us some of the activities that you have been venturing into in helping people.
Okay, thank you very much. So, what some of the activities that we do at Stand We Work Together is peer counseling. Okay. So we usually go to the hospital and counsel new patients that are amputated, because it's very important for patients to go through this process, because they're, transforming their life from being or walking with 2 legs to now, working with 1 leg. So we used to counsel them to ensure that they're integrated into societies. And then counsel their next of kin, family members, to ensure that when they go back home, they will not be traumatized by the fact that they are amputees or whatsoever. So after that, their recovery process too, we ensure that we counsel them online. And then sometimes we even visit them at home to see their caregivers, how they're treating them. Because it's very important as an amputee to go through this process. So these are some of the things that we do. And then we empower also women, persons living with disabilities, women that are newly amputated, because these women find it hard, and then at some cases they even get divorced because of their amputation. So we try to empower them. So at Stand We Work Together, we also offered opportunities where we give grants to these women so that they will be empowered, they will create their own businesses, so integrate them into societies.
Okay, that's a good one.
Exactly.
So how many women have you supported so far with that initiative?
So we usually have slots.
Okay.
So understand their right as persons living with disabilities, and some of the things that they could do with their own lives so that they will be independent as women.
So what are the criteria? Because you touch on a very important topic here. What is the criteria for someone who wish to access that grant, and what type of business, to be specific, are you really looking at?
Okay. So the criteria, you need to be an amputee at first. So we don't look at your age or so on. As long as you are an amputee within the Gambia here, and then you are part of the Gambia, you are a Gambian, you have the criteria to have this grant. But again, we have organizations. We have Lex for Africa, we have the ladies group too, we have the Guy for, that is the boys that play sport. So all of these are components of where Lex for Africa partnered with them to ensure that, when it comes to reaching out far people, because we cannot do it alone.
Right.
So when it comes to reaching out far people, or, going beyond, territories within the West Coast and KM to reach out to these women. So when it comes to businesses, is any business that that you can do and you will make profit as an individual. It doesn't matter what kind of business with it, whether you have a store, whether you want to do marketing, whether you want to do makeup, what so on, anything that you think you can gain something out of it, we are really ready to support amputee women and men as well, generally.
Exactly.
So this organization Stand We Work Together, right? The membership of the organization, what is the composition, and how can someone be a member of the organization?
Okay, so for amputees, we are the first of contacts, because when they are amputated in the hospital, we have people that reach out to us from the hospital. We already build bilateral relations with hospital here that when they have amputees, they will reach out to us, because we know how the work goes around. Despite the fact that they are nurses, but again, they don't understand that level when it comes to counseling. And again, someone that passed through amputations or passed through that level will understand the dynamics or the complexities of it. So at the hospital level, we introduce our work to them, and we introduce ourselves to them, and some of the things we can offer to them. Because this, at one point, when you're in your hospital bed, you are thinking about a lot of things, you know, having your two legs, walking, doing your things, and all of a sudden, you know, you are just with one leg.
That.
Yeah.
Just imagine that.
So with all of those stress,
too traumatizing.
Yeah. So we come in as a support system, but again to give them hope that they can be integrated into the society.
Ali, let's take a look at your story. I mean, you worked, you've served the Gambia as a service officer. Yes. At some point, you had an accident a few years back, and you lost one of your legs.
Exactly.
And I mean, I know it was very devastating at the first time when you were told, okay, your leg should be amputated. And how did you feel like the first weeks to 1 month or a year?
Yeah, it was terrible. Definitely. My first week of amputation, definitely, it was terrible. Because, like, at this moment, what is happening was not happening in those days. An amputee peer counseling team existing, going and visiting people who are newly amputated during our days of amputation.
It wasn't there. You have to console yourself.
Yeah, because I was amputated in 2012. You see, so in those days, you just sit on your hospital bed, you know, thinking negatively.
How is the society going to see me?
Actually, and especially when I think of myself, how I was somebody who was well known because I was an intelligence officer, in charge of a region, and I was very much familiar with people, both the government staffs, the politicians, very well known. So after going into this, sitting on my hospital bed, now seeing myself with one leg, I was thinking a lot. Yeah, how will I be now? Yeah, but to be honest, I was somebody who was very strong. Yeah, because before my involvement in the accident, I know about prosthetic leg.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
I know about it.
Okay, so once you were amputated, you were thinking on that line.
Yeah, I used, even people who visited me, when they come and see me and cry, I told them, no, don't cry, just pray for me, let me get well. I will walk. This is what I always tell people.
And you are walking.
You're walking.
And today, some people, when they see me, they used to say, yeah.
You know, I never knew, I mean,
he says so.
So you mentioned, okay.
No, go ahead.
You mentioned that you were an intelligence officer.
Yes.
And you were well known.
Yeah.
Does that have an impact? Is your amputation, does it have an impact on that work now?
Well, after my amputation, I completed my treatment. I was back to my job.
No, as normal.
Still working as an intelligence officer. Because the time I was having the accident, I was in CRR. But after my treatment, I request that I'm going to URR. Just to change the environment. Because anywhere I appear, those who knows about me and they know about my accident, any village I reach, all the people will come out to see me. So that gives me,
moral boost.
Yeah, so this is why I prefer then to change my postings, to go to a different place. But so, it doesn't affect my work.
So what message will you give to people who are undergoing the same situation or scenario and they feel like, okay, maybe that is the end of the world for them?
Yeah, thank you very much. In fact, this is the cause of my working with this organization. Because like I said, just an year after my amputation, this organization, they came to the Gambia and wanted to start working here. And they wanted their work supposed to be based on people who are amputated. So they start asking for people who are amputated. And they are working, feeling strong, because they need such person so that they can be able to work with that. That person can be used to inspire others. So I was lucky to be informed they informed me about them. They came up to my station to visit me.
Okay, nice.
You see, so since then, you know, they have a discussion with me, and we made agreements, and they supported me, sponsored me to go social work training. I do certificate and diploma program. You see, then after that, they discussed with my authorities in the police. My postings was changed.
Okay.
From the intelligence, I was posted on the police medic, because instead I become a medic social worker.
Now, wow, nice.
See, so since then, I started exercising, counseling people at hospital. I started for almost 1 year alone, going around hospital, counseling people who are newly amputated. Yeah, and definitely it helps a lot. Even the health institutions recommended it, they like it, so it was extended.
Sometimes all you need is a person to be there for you and tell you it's okay.
Yeah.
You are not the one, you are not alone.
Exactly.
You know?
Because especially somebody who is suffering such a problem, a different person, an able person can come and sit near him, tell him, hey, you can walk. You see, you know Mr. Ture, he is amputated and he walks.
And he's walking.
He will hear it, but still he will have two minds. But a person like Mr. Ture come and sit near you, or a person like Nima come and sit near you and explain to you that I went through this, and he or she show you the proof.
Nima has also undergone amputation.
He or she show you the proof directly. You can see the smiles, you know, in the face of the individual.
How does it feel
automatically
if your legs are amputated? Do you feel
amputees are all diabetic patients? So it depends on the individual as well, the strength that you have. But most cases, individuals that we consult are diabetic, and sometimes they find it hard. And these are all sets of women or men in the society. So sometimes...
What I'm curious, what really led to your amputation?
So I got a car accident.
Oh, so sorry.
Yeah.
So sorry about that.
Wow, that's a, you know, but I mean, at some point, life goes on.
Yeah.
Life goes on. That is, and you know, one thing, it can happen to anybody.
Right.
It can happen to anybody
At
anytime.
any time.
Yeah, really.
So that's why it's important for us to sensitize the public. Okay, in case this thing happen,
there is hope.
There is hope.
Exactly.
You understand?
Yeah.
So now with the legs, how do you go about making it? Do you make it yourselves, or you have other people that makes the legs?
Can I comment?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. This is why we are partnering with the Department of Social Welfare, the National Rehabilitation Center, because they are having orthopedic technicians, orthopedic technologists who are fully trained to make or assemble legs. So we can provide the components, we can bring them and give it to them, let them fix it. So this is why that center is our #1 partners. For the past 10 years, we are working with them. And right now, the partnership is very strong because even this organization employs some staffs whom you know they are working at that center, and it's the organization who pay them just for the sake of the people with, who are physically challenged. And in fact, now we are not only focusing on amputees.
Okay.
Now we are making the organization more wider. We are helping wheelchair users. Every 2 months, we organize a trek team from Banjul. They cross Bara, Kerewan, Farafenye, Basse, Bansang, Jarasoma, then finally Buyam to Banjul. They round the whole country. Anywhere they see wheelchair user, your wheelchair, any problem it have, it will be maintenance for you, free of charge.
Free. Wow.
And some months ago, a full container was brought here, which you know you have a lot of wheelchairs. It is all disposed to people who needed them free of charge.
Okay, okay.
So the leg, once you have the leg, how often should you change it?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends because this leg, I think I'm using it for almost 3 years now.
Oh, it lasts that long.
Yeah. Although maybe it could be my third leg, something like that, because my duration of amputation is becoming long now.
Okay.
Yeah, so it depends because yes, there are some individuals. There used to be certain time where they improve, they build health wage.
Yeah,
so,
at some point.
So in that case, it appears on the limb also. You see, so when you build wage, sometimes the limb you find it very
it's
tight. And in this case, you need to change to make it the size you are having. Sometimes you may lose weight also, it becomes very distinct. So this normally happens.
Well, I mean,
so
go ahead. No.
Nyima, what advice will you give to people, especially young people who are encountering this situation? Because you are here, mashallah, you're young, you're doing amazingly well. You're going about your business. Yeah, she is. You're going about your business.
The university student.
You see, you're going about your business. It doesn't hinder.
I have space for said. But I'll talk to my uncle. My uncle will work on that.
So what advice would you give to listeners? I mean, you're amazing. You're doing amazingly well. You're a final year student at the University of the Gambia, doing so well. What advice would you give to young people who are encountering a similar situation and they think maybe this is the end of the world?
Okay, so in most cases, what I would advise persons living with disabilities is to believe in themselves.
Right.
Yeah, to have the self-confidence. Because when you do that, you grow. You automatically grow. Don't just let the world or what people say about you get into you. And to the society as well, we need to understand that we might go through those situations. We don't know what the world have for us. You might be the next person who may be affected by this issue.
Absolutely.
So the form of discriminations or when we have family members that are persons living with disabilities looking down to them, we should get away from all of those and have mentalities that, that we will treat them and see them as persons who are part of us. We treat them in a form of humanity way, not just to discriminate them or see them as someone who they cannot do nothing by themselves.
Well, one thing I believe, disability is not inability. Exactly. You understand? Yeah. Thank you, Nyima, for coming, and thank you, Aliu, for coming.
Can I say
quickly?
Finally,
right.
I would like all the viewers, the whole Gambia, to know that Legs for Africa at Stand have a new office now in Kanifing, in the Gambia, just right opposite Child Phone.
Okay.
So anybody who have leg problem like you are amputated, try to get in touch with us.
Yes.
Yeah, we are here for the people with disabilities, especially people who are amputated.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming on the program, Legs for Africa Stand. And we hope to engage you more in the future. And don't hesitate. If you have anything, just come straight to us and we will give you our platform. We are all in this together. Today we are here. Tomorrow, you never know. I might need something from you people.
Absolutely.
So that is what it is. Julde, thank you very much.
Yeah, this is all we have until we come your way tomorrow for another edition.
Until then, enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye for now.